Hello, everybody. Welcome. Thank you for joining us. Welcome to our very first Patriot update. We have got a lot to talk about today. So thank you so much for being here. We're going to give it just a minute to let everybody come in. If you haven't done so yet, feel free to shout out where you're tuning in from, what city, what state. If you're catching the replay, let us know that you caught this replay. Let us know where you're tuning in from. And I want to start today by just saying how much I appreciate the overwhelming amount of support, the emails that have been coming in for Summer and I, just everybody's inboxes, sharing information has just been overwhelming. And, you know, we really didn't plan on being in a position where we were sharing these updates. But what we found that we're not getting accurate information from the media. Go surprise, right? A surprise. We're not getting accurate information from the media. And Summer and I worked very closely on the Trump campaign here in Arizona. Summer's mother was a Republican delegate. She's a UN delegate as well. And so we've had the privilege of being involved and being on a lot of the update calls with, Bill Stepien, who is the campaign manager for Trump, as well as Justin Clark, one of the campaign manager attorneys. And so we've just been getting a lot of information coming our way, and we've been doing our best to push it out to you guys just so that we can keep everybody informed. All of a sudden I have people inboxing saying, thank you for, your page is one of the pages I go to check and see what's going on. And right now I feel called to speak our truth. And that's exactly what we're doing here. So we appreciate you guys being on. And one of the ways that you can help us get this information out there is by clicking the share button below. We've got a lot to talk about today. Hey, Shirley, how are you? Good to have you on. Mr. Patriot, good to have you on. Hey, Tina, how are you? Looks like Skeeter's here. Sean Rhodes, thanks for tuning in as well. So with that, we're going to go ahead and we're going to jump right into some really good information. So first of all, many of you guys have been asking me about Arizona. What's the latest on Arizona? What's the latest on Arizona? And as some of you know, there is a lot of controversy around when Fox News called Arizona for Joe Biden. In fact, up to that point, there was a lot of momentum on Donald Trump's side. If you were watching the election, he was winning by large deficits in Georgia. Florida had just been awarded. He was winning in Michigan. He was winning in Wisconsin. And there seemed to be a lot of momentum moving towards Donald Trump during that time. And in fact, we were watching different, Newsmax. We were watching Fox News. We were kind of watching, the different ways that people were reporting. But on Fox News, one of the reporters even said, gosh, this is starting to feel a lot like 2016 at this point. And all signs indicated that the momentum was going in Trump's favor. And one thing that we noticed was that it was really interesting how these states that were in the higher 90 percentile range were not being called for Donald Trump, even when he had, significant leads in these areas. And yet, they were just awarding Joe Biden states that, 17% of the votes were in, or in Arizona's case, I think it was something like 73% of the votes were in at that time. And so, there was a lot of controversy around that. And they were right. They were right that it was way too early for Fox News to call that race. And many would argue that it was I don't want to use the word ploy, but, it was to stop that momentum that was happening at that time. And since then, we closed out the election night, woke up the next morning. Obviously, we woke up to an entirely different race. A lot of controversy around that. We'll be talking a lot more about that. But Arizona was 110,000 votes behind the following morning after the night of the election. Since then, we've watched Arizona and Donald Trump chip away at that lead. Every single day, they have narrowed that margin. Whereas as of this morning, he came in and he's had to pull a 57% or higher on all the ballots that come in. Each time they do a ballot drop, he had to have at least 57% of those votes or higher to be able to turn the state. This morning, he came in at 63%. So definitely heavily favoring Donald Trump. And as of just a few minutes ago, we have Mojave County that posted some more ballots, not a lot, but 591 more ballots. The breakdown there was 84% towards Donald Trump, 14% towards Biden. So obviously heavily focused around Trump there. And then we also have 200 more ballots coming in from Mojave. Right now, currently, we have 5,000 that need curing, which means that there is, those ballots need to be corrected in some form or fashion. So they have to go through a process. We have 40,000 provisional votes that are still outstanding. Somebody asked me earlier, what is a provisional ballot? So our daughter actually ended up having a provisional ballot.
No, she was not happy about it.
So a lot of times if you show up at the wrong polling center, or maybe your ID didn't match the information that was in the system, whatever the case might be, they'll still allow you to vote, but it becomes a provisional vote. And the whole purpose of that is that they don't want your vote not to count because of a clerical error. So it goes on to the provisional side. But they will still count those votes. Provisional votes, there's 40,000 votes still outstanding in Arizona, 25,000 regular votes still outstanding. So with all of that, Trump has now closed that deficit to 15,000 ballots. Yes. 15,000 ballots in Arizona. So every single day he's chipping away. And what's really interesting is Real Clear Politics and CNN just uncalled Arizona. They just uncalled Arizona for Joe Biden. So 2 media outlets have now pulled back on Arizona.
That's impressive.
And
thank you, media, for being really,
imagine that,
like real journalists.
Right? So
I just wanted to go over something real quick too. I do get a lot of inboxing and text messages from friends that are like, hey, if this was your candidate, you'd be celebrating too, and blah, blah, blah. And I have no problem with who voted for whatever. Voting is deeply personal, and I'm never going to tell someone who to vote for. And I'm not going to criticize anyone for using their constitutional right to vote. That is so amazing, so precious. And it's something that we really need to hold dear. That's what makes America, America. It makes us so great, right? That we can have differing opinions. But the thing that I was having to discuss is the media, maybe you covered this already, has no legal jurisdiction to call any election for the United States of America.
Amen.
They're not legal. They're not under any, no one put them in power, right? Except for themselves, to dictate what is the truth. So it's still a bunch of opinions, or even analysts with their opinions. And do you want to, I don't know if everyone understands, but there is a legal process that the voting goes under here in the United States. And each individual state has those different processes based on their individual constitutions for that state. But those state constitutions cannot in any way, shape, or form violate the overhanging federal constitution, which we all abide by. So what happens is on, what was the date again? December 13th? I think it's December 13th.
Mm-hmm.
Or December 12th. December 13th is when the legislative branch of each individual state looks at their votes and then determines the electoral votes that they are going to formally give and formally vote for the candidate that won their state based on the legal ballots that have been turned in, the counts of legal ballots. And they cannot in no way, shape, or form vote for the candidate that goes against what their registered voters voted for. Okay, I know that's kind of complicated. So that is called certification. That's certifying the Electoral College. And a lot of people don't understand that's not what the media does. I know it might be shocking to some of you to find this out, but that's not how our legal system works. So Fox News has no legal jurisdiction to make a claim. They can use their opinion, just like CNN or ABC or anyone. They can use their opinion based on their analysts to project, but it's a projection. That's all it is. So I just feel like that needs some clarification. My daughters have been getting hate mail on Instagram because of things that they've posted about this not being over yet. But in reality, it's not over, because the legislative branches of each individual state have not voted for where their electoral votes are going to go for, because it doesn't happen, first of all, until December. And then second of all, they don't have all the votes in, and they still are going through a process of validating, curing, and there's also been some legal action taken against recounts and audits that will happen based on the numbers. And given this crazy situation of the election that we found ourselves in this year, by not even knowing 90, come on, guys. I've watched the elections all night, all my adult life. My mother loves politics, so I've gotten wrapped into doing that my whole life practically, that I can remember my adult teenage years. Usually they have 99 and then 100% of the precincts reporting of day of election ballots that have been reporting and counted. And that's how they usually get the projection of who is going to take the presidency or become the president-elect prior to that date where the actual electoral college votes are given by the legislative branches on a further date in December, right? They have that leeway. So this is the first time that has not happened. And I think that's why there is so much concern about the process. Everyone's like, trust the process. Well, a lot of times people don't understand too that there's been over 400 legal actions, lawsuits in the form of lawsuits being taken overall, about that number, in these several different states. So not 400 for one state, but overall, prior to the election, to try to change the legal process in those individual states by which ballots are counted and the election how the process of how the election takes place, dates, deadlines, and how those votes are counted and what votes will be counted. So that was done prior to the election, which when people say trust the processes have been tampered with prior to the election this year, and it has never happened before.
On that note, I want to pause, because on that note,
yes,
Kaylee had something to say about that today, and I think that we should hear this. So
yes,
let's listen to what Kaylee has to say about the laws and the things that have been petitioned and all of these different.
Yes.
Let's listen to what Kaylee has to say here.
And by the way, I will just add right here after she says this, there's only certain people who are allowed to hear those laws, who are allowed to actually have the power to change those in the state. And we're finding that some of those states illegally changed those processes, and they did not have the legal jurisdiction to do so in their state.
All right, here we go.
Of all Americans who want to have faith and confidence, not only in this election, but in the many elections to come. There is only one party in America that opposes voter ID. One party in America that opposes verifying signatures, citizenship, residency, eligibility. There is only one party in America trying to keep observers out of the count room. And that party, my friends, is the Democrat Party. You don't take these positions because you want an honest election. You don't oppose an audit of the vote because you want an accurate count. You don't oppose our efforts at sunlight and transparency because you have nothing to hide. You take these positions because you are welcoming fraud and you are welcoming illegal voting. Our position is clear. We want to protect the franchise of the American people. We want an honest, accurate, lawful count. We want maximum sunlight. We want maximum transparency. We want every legal vote to be counted, and we want every illegal vote to be discarded. Unlike our opponents, we have nothing to hide. The integrity of our election matters. The Constitution of the United States matters. What we have seen across the country is Democrat officials systematically trying to do an end run around the Constitution to tip the scales of the election in their favor. As Justice Gorsuch wrote in DNC versus...
Right, so we're going to leave it there for just a moment. So just to kind of piggyback on what you were saying.
Yes. Well, thank you very much. That was great video. Well, and the reason why I'm even bringing this up is because my daughters have been getting a little bit of hate mail that they did not solicit because of things that they posted, which are true and factual. And they're from little, young adults, teenagers that are saying, do you even know how the courts work? Do you even know our legal system? And my daughters are like, do you even know? Because guess what? there seems to be a lot of confusion out there, and I can't help but feel like media is really perpetuating this and propagating this confusion. And so I feel like there's a lot of us, well, the good news is this has really been a refresher course for how our legal system works and how our court systems work in each state, because we've all been able to go back and do a refresher and remember how each branch works in the states and also in the federal government. So I think that we all could use a little bit of a refresher on that, right?
All right, so we've got a lot to talk about tonight. Welcome to the first Patriot Update. I'm Travis, this is Summer Flaherty, and the way that you can help is by sharing this video, because we're going to be going over a lot of information tonight. First and foremost, some great news coming out of Arizona. Arizona has now narrowed the race down to 15,000 narrow margin, so we're getting to that close point where Arizona very well could be a recount state and very well could even turn. CNN has now pulled back Arizona. Would love to see Fox News pull back their decision that was so controversial. But so some great news coming out of there. So where do I even start tonight? I think I want to start by talking about the big news today, which was Pfizer. We got to talk about Pfizer coming out, and this is going to blow you guys away. So Pfizer came out with some news today, right? They came out with some great news for our country when it comes to hopefully being able to return to some level of normalcy. Is a word, right? Which they said that they are now close to releasing a vaccine that has been tested, and the initial trials show that it has been 90% effective. Great news. By the way, this is the news that President Trump has been saying all along, that we could expect to see a vaccine anytime soon. I don't know if you guys were watching the debates, but Joe Biden called President Trump a liar, said that it could be, next year, maybe even a year away before the vaccines come. But I want you guys to know this is very, very important. So Pfizer had this information. They had the results of their testing back in early to mid-October. They chose not to release this information during the election. So what does that mean? Pfizer contributed, listen to this, Pfizer contributed money to Joe Biden's campaign, as well as to Democratic Senate campaigns. So if Vice President Biden becomes president, guys, the corporatalist influence in our country will be platformed. It's merging seamlessly with the government. Why didn't they announce this information 10 days ago? That's the important question. And there's a very clear answer. It's election interference. It's election interference. The same reason the activist media didn't report the Hunter Biden investigation. Or why is it that they didn't report that Hunter Biden is currently under investigation by the FBI for money laundering? Why didn't they report any of this? The same exact reasons. Guys, what's happening right now to our country is there's a convergence of influence with big tech, with big pharma, and the government. You've got Wall Street that contributed hundreds of millions of dollars to this election, to Joe's organization. And here's the deal. All of these forces are coming together. All of us had faith that if we rose up as patriots, as we rose up, that we could have an honest and fair election. And I think that there's a lot of people out there that don't feel like there is transparency in this election right now. Why not release those results until today? Because they wanted Joe Biden to be coronated so that Joe could get the credit. This was their plan all along, so that Joe can enter into as a president-elect, and then he brings in this vaccine that is 90% effective, right? I want to ask this question. How would the world have responded? How would the world have responded if this information was released in late October? The number one concern during this election, I was going to say based on polls.
I was just going to say based on what polls, babe?
The number one concern, is that upsetting, Macy? They had this information. They chose to hold this information until after the election. The number one concern in this election was the coronavirus. and how it was going to be handled. That was the #1 concern. Charlie Kirk and many others out there are calling on Republican senators, Lindsey Graham, Josh Hawley, to open an investigation against Pfizer. Why they chose to November 9th to release this information. I mean, it could have had huge impact on the election. An election that at the very end of it all, let's say that Joe Biden does beat the alleged corruption, the alleged voter frauds that are out there, and he becomes president. This is a race that could very well come down to as little as 25 to 50,000 votes. You don't think that information could have swayed the difference? You don't think that information couldn't have provided a psychological lift to America during a time where people are scared and nervous? I mean, what did we hear for the last 3 or 4 weeks? Fear-mongering, fear-mongering, fear-mongering from the media, right? That's all we heard, creating as much fear and uncertainty and doubt as possible, as much FUD as possible. This is, you guys should be outraged about this. This is a big deal. You know, Trump kept saying in all of his speeches, there's a vaccine coming. There should be one coming soon. It should be coming any day now. And everybody's like, yeah, right, yeah, right, yeah, right. They had all of this information. They were ready to release this. They held off on it until after the election. And that is garbage. Absolute garbage. So I want to know how you guys feel about that. I left Big Pharma, Shirley says. Stealing is not a win. Lying does not create trust. Absolutely, especially when supposed cases are skyrocketing. Literally everyone working against him. It's absolutely right. It's everyone working against him. You know, what we are witnessing again is big tech, big pharma, and the government marching in sync with one another. This should infuriate you. You know, again, now we're not going to take the vaccine. I don't care what your position is on the vaccine, but Pfizer, who gave money to Joe Biden, they not only gave money to Joe Biden's campaign, they gave money to the Democratic Senate. They gave money to the Democratic Democratic committee. These guys interfered directly with an election, and they should be investigated. They had this information in October, and they refused to release it. Guys, this is a huge, huge deal. Now, let's talk a little bit about, we're going to get into the Dominion software a little bit tonight. You know, we're not going to get into some watermark theories and things like that tonight. We're going to save that for a later date. Sorry. We'll save that for maybe another time. But I do want to give some updates to what's going on out there in some of these different states. So first of all, you have Pennsylvania, right? So Pennsylvania, some of you may have watched the Kaylee, live briefing. And another thing, the media, the mainstream media is no longer picking up any of Kaylee's press releases. They're not pushing this information out there at all. You know what they're pushing out there? Unite. It's time to come together, everyone. It's time that we all, we all just come together and hug each other and love each other. And let me tell you something. I'm all for uniting when we know that there's been transparency, when we know that there's been an honest and fair election. But with what's going on right now, and they're suppressing any information. There's no information coming out through mainstream media, which is why we are putting this out. It's the reason why we need people to stand up and speak out. What the media is hoping for, what the media is expecting, is that you're going to roll over and you're going to say, I think it's over.
Complacency. That's what they think. This
is far from over. We, as Americans, have to stand up for the Constitution and for our republic. And if we don't, we will not have one left. In Pennsylvania, you have lawsuits that have been filed. In fact, you may have seen today that they petitioned, one suit has actually petitioned the Supreme Court already, one of many to come. That particular suit was in reference to counting votes that were dated after the election date. But there's a lot more going on in Pennsylvania right now. Pennsylvania is a mess. And I should say a legend, right? A legend. I love all the Operation Warp Speed was pushed heavily by. I mean, there's so much going on right now, you guys. I mean, we could stay here for a long time, and we're going to try and keep these at least condensed. So we'll do more of these in the future. But listen, poll watchers were being blocked. I want to start there. So in every election, there is equal access. Typically what you have is you have a Democrat and you have a Republican, and they are both standing within 6 feet. They can see the ballots, and they are certified, they are trained, and they have the ability to be able to object to a ballot. And if they object, then typically what they do is they take that ballot and they set it aside. This is standard operating procedure. So in Pennsylvania, poll watchers were blocked. They were not given equal access. Democrats had access, but Republicans were not. So that's where I think we're going to start. That's where one of the first issues is in Pennsylvania. How do you, if you don't have any overwatchers, you don't have any oversight, you can pretty much do whatever you want. Where do these ballots come from? You know, they're estimating that there's 682,000 ballots that were, there was no overwatchers whatsoever. What could have happened? Where do those ballots come from? Right, which leads me to my next point. So there is a specific group of people that showed up really heavy in Pennsylvania, like a really, it's the dead voters. They showed up really, really heavy in Pennsylvania.
Is that like a pun because they're heavy because they're dead?
No, well, there's thousands of dead votes. We have lists of people that were registered, not only when they registered,
Yes.
but when their ballot was received, that were born in 1900. I'd love to know what these people are doing. What's their secret to still be around for so long? This is a big issue, right? So we have thousands of dead voters. We've got, you know, ballots that are being counted that are dated after the fact. You've got whistleblowers that are coming out that are saying, listen, we were told to backdate these ballots to November 2nd or November 3rd if they were dated after the fact. So this isn't just, you know, there's whistleblowers. There's people that are coming forward. And I want you to, there's a word, you guys, there's one thing that we have to exercise, which is hard to do, is patience.
Yes.
Right? Patience right now is a verb. It's not, you know, we have to exercise patience. And the reason I say that is because there have been thousands and thousands of reports that have come in of alleged fraud, primarily coming from Pennsylvania, Michigan, and Georgia, and now Nevada. And it takes time to investigate. It takes time to gather this information. So we are going to have to exercise a little patience. But Pennsylvania, there's some big issues. In fact, I will tell you guys that Real News just got this here just a minute ago. I think that I was just told that Pennsylvania was just pulled back as well. Let me check one of our groups here.
I did see something come in.
Here it is. Real Clear Politics is uncalled Pennsylvania
Wow.
and Arizona. So I don't know, Joe,
Which takes
your
the count.
electoral votes, your votes are starting to go backwards. So that's just Pennsylvania. Now we have Michigan. Michigan, we have election workers who not only did
And CNN uncalled Arizona, so that's good.
not only did Michigan block the challengers from being able to see the votes, they went to the extreme. So they literally padlocked doors. They blocked out windows. You probably have seen video coverage of this out there in the media outlets. So they literally went to, sorry guys, 4-year-olds and 8-year-olds that are fighting. Witching hour, welcome to our world. So they literally had, they went to great extremes to keep people out. Not only that, but we have whistleblowers that have come forward that have been talking about the intimidation that they, you know, the threats that they had. They, you know, we have a canvas and a certification process for a reason. It is there for a reason. And without that, we lose the integrity of the elections. And so we have poll workers that were also, I mean, we've seen, many of you have seen the videos. Isn't it interesting? So I put up a video, getting worked up here. So I put up a video on Sunday night. And it was another video that someone had sent me. I've got dozens of these now that are saved on my computer. And it was of a poll worker that was changing the votes, caught from multiple angles, right? So it was a poll worker that was changing the votes, and I put it up on Facebook. And Facebook blocked the video under the pretense that this was misinformation that could cause potential harm to someone. Why is big tech suppressing this information? This isn't alleged voter fraud. It's a video of someone doing it. I just watched. Somebody sent me on Instagram just moments ago. There's a guy literally on Instagram, and I've got to figure out how to download. Maybe somebody can tell me how to download videos from Instagram. There's a guy who took a video, or he's got a video of himself. He's bragging about that he works. He's counting the ballots, and he's like, look at this vote right here, and he holds up Donald Trump, and he rips the ballot And he's like, oh, this election, and throws it off to the side. There's another video circulating out there of a guy who gets upset when he opens up a ballot, throws it down, picks it back up, flips it off, crumbles it up, throws it in the garbage. This is right in the middle of the civic center where they're counting ballots. If that doesn't concern you, then I don't know what does. Again, we want a fair and honest election. If Joe Biden wins a fair and honest election, I'll be the first to say, listen, I'm going to get behind our president. I won't like it. I don't like the policy that he stands for. But you know what? I will pray for him. But we have to have a fair and honest election. What's happening in Pennsylvania, what's happening in Michigan is not fair. Then you have Nevada, thousands of reports of people that weren't eligible to vote, that have moved to different states, but they're still voting in Nevada. Thousands of these type of people. Wisconsin's already a recount. So this race is far from over. And what you are going to see in the coming days ahead is you're going to see Trump restart these rallies like you've never seen before. There is a million MAGA march in Washington this coming Saturday. Summer and I were looking at tickets. We may go to this. If you are able to, we encourage you to go. We encourage you to go, and we encourage you to get out there and demand that we have a fair and honest election. That's what this is about. You know, I know people on the other side, oh, you're just sore losers. Listen, it's funny to me how for 4 years, Democrats cried, Russia, 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 and now all of a sudden, oh, no, it's not possible to have unfair elections. Let me tell you something. Go look up the history of elections in Pennsylvania. You've got judges at the highest level that were taking bribes that are now in jail because they were stuffing ballots. You've got congressmen that are in jail because they changed votes. Voter fraud is nothing new in Pennsylvania. So, you know, where do I want to go from here? So let's talk a little bit about Dominion for just a minute. Okay, because this is really fascinating to me. I was doing some research on Dominion. Now, some of you may not know or may know that Dominion is the software system that was in Michigan that had a quote unquote glitch, right? Isn't it funny how all these glitches are always in favor of Joe Biden, right? Like they find sacks in the basement for Joe Biden, but they find President Trump's ballots in the middle of a field here in Arizona, in the middle of a farm somewhere, right? That people broke into. Anyways, that's beside the point. So let's talk a little bit about Dominion. So Dominion was the software system that's now been used in about 30 different states across the country, in all of the swing states. And in Michigan, we had a glitch. And that glitch awarded 6,000 votes that were supposed to go to Trump that went to Biden. This is not alleged. This is not, oh, well, they say it happened. But no, they've come out and they've acknowledged this. So now that begs the question, could this have happened in other states, right? I mean, if it happened here, could it have happened somewhere else? That's 6,000 votes. You know, and then you start wondering, well, was it really a glitch? But here, let me give you some information about this, okay?
Systemic glitch?
So I'm not making any accusations, okay? I'm only bringing up interesting coincidences that are worth discussing. So on Thursday, it was discovered the glitch, right? 6,000 votes. And this flaw, again, has led to many questions whether it's possible same glitches could have occurred. Now, here's the interesting thing. It's now been discovered. Guess who has direct ties to Dominion? Just guess. I feel like this lady she's like a cockroach. She won't ever go away. Sorry, but Hillary Clinton has direct ties to Dominion, the Clinton Foundation.
I think they either own it, or I'm looking for the paper right now. They either own it.
Well, no. So
or they funded it.
Yeah. So let me give it to you. So first of all, I got to say this as a side note. I always find it fascinating how these senators end up with businesses that are earning millions of dollars with these types of things, right? Land deals, right? Voting systems. They own the systems that are now, servicing our entire country when it comes to voting. Hey, how about some access to my daddy or the Oval Office? We'll charge you some money, right? Allegedly, right? So it's just interesting to me. And this has happened on both sides. So, I'm not going to say that that's only on the Democratic side, but I find it interesting that our tax dollars put these people in office so that they can put themselves into positions to make millions of dollars. It's politics in general, but here's the deal. So when you, oh, by the way, and one other thing, what does Dominion mean? What's the definition of Dominion? Anybody know what it is? Definition of dominion is control or the exercise of control, sovereignty. That is what dominion means. Isn't that interesting that that's the name of the software that we use in 30 states for voting? So here we go.
Is it a coincidence?
So we know that there are ties to the Clinton Foundation to Dominion. You can look it up. How do I know that? You can look it up. You can see back in 2014, I published on my page. You can go back and see this post where the Clinton Foundation is talking specifically about Dominion and their involvement with Dominion. Okay. So this isn't just, again, this isn't just us making this up. You can go and you can find this information. But here's the other thing. When you look at the corporate papers of Dominion, you will also find ties to another well-known senator, Democratic senator from California, Dianne Feinstein. And if you look at the papers, you're going to see that the majority owner is Bloom Capital. Well, David Bloom happens to be Dianne Feinstein's husband. The Feinsteins, guess who they have ties to? They're really, really close with the Clinton Foundation. And again, I'm not making any accusations here. I'm only pointing out the facts. You can jump to your own conclusions. And what was interesting to me too, Summer, was that
I'm looking for some things that you could put there possibly.
well, I have all of these pictures. I could show these, but in the last 48 hours, I guess it would be 72 hours now. In the last 72 hours, Wikipedia has been really busy. So has Google, by the way. Wikipedia has been very busy. They updated the Dominion Wikipedia over 100 times in the last 72 hours. Why would they do that? Why would they feel the need to all of a sudden update all of the information about Dominion? You know, it's interesting to me that when you Google anything that we've talked about tonight, the alleged voter fraud, if you talk about these whistleblowers that are coming forward, I watched the gentleman that sat in his car that was a very experienced tenure when it comes to being involved in elections and being certified as a challenger in the state of Michigan. He said specifically in Detroit that there was so much fraud going on. He was thrown out when he was challenged votes, said he was never treated like that before, and said that what was happening there was an absolute atrocity, right? So you go Google that, missing information, not accurate, missing, that's, they counter everything. They're controlling what is put out in the media. And what's that saying? You control the media, you control the world, right?
Yeah.
It blows my mind. Even Stevie Wonder can see what is going on here. And we have to fight back. We have to fight back as Americans. You can't be complacent. This race is far from over. It is up to us to be able to spread truth because the media is not going to do it. And we have to put the information out. Now, one thing that I do caution, we get a lot of different things that are coming our way. I mean, yes, we've heard the watermark story. We've heard all these things. Great. We pray that story's true. But at this point, there's been no validation. I do question sometimes how they get these, credible people to do interviews. But until we get that type of credible information, we're doing our best not to go out and share it and put it out there. But I think we need to focus on these things right here. Pennsylvania, Michigan, Nevada. These are things that we need to be talking about right now. We need to be putting it back on Fox News saying, why did you call Arizona? What was the reason for that? There's a lot that we can talk about. There's a lot of information that we can put out. And right now, it's important that we do push back. So Summer and I, we're going to continue to put out more and more information over the coming days ahead. I expect that within the next 24 to 48 hours that there will be another call with Bill Stepien and the Trump campaign. And as soon as we get off of that, we will update you guys. But in closing tonight, I just want to say great news out of Arizona. We've narrowed the race down to 15,000. We've started to see, everyone's like, well, where's the proof? Where's the proof? You need to understand that when you have thousands, we're talking about over 5,000 reports that have come in 4 states. It takes time to weed through all of this, but you're starting to see Trump go on the offensive. You've seen the petition for the Supreme Court in Pennsylvania today on one particular case. That's only the beginning. You're seeing the rallies start up. You're going to see patriotism at a level that you've never seen before. And it is very important that we don't just buy into this media's, award of the presidential race when they don't have the authority to be able to do it. It is long from over, folks. So that's all I've got. That's all I've got for you guys today. Thanks so much for watching. If you got some value out of today, we encourage you to share this information. if you guys have information that's coming in that you deem credible, that would be of value to us, that we can help push out, send it over to us. We'll push it out. I don't know how often we're going to do this. I don't know what time we're going to do it. Some people have suggested we start a podcast. Maybe we'll go that route. I don't know. I will tell you that right now I'm just following a calling, and I know that we feel very drawn to stand up and fight for this country. To me, faith, family, freedom, those are the things that matter most. And if you're not willing to stand up for those things, if you're going to be quiet at the risk of maybe offending someone, look, to me, right now, my freedom is much more important than that. So,
well, I think that we all can agree that we all want transparency. We all want truth. We all want to have confidence in our process, our election process, and confidence in our country, and confidence that tomorrow we're going to wake up, and next year and 4 years from now, for every election after this, that we're going to be able to have confidence to know that when you go to the voting booth, that your vote is going to count, and that it will be defended. The process will be defended, and the legality and the Constitution will be defended. And really, that's all that Travis and I want. That's all that anybody, I think, that we've talked to on both sides really wants. So it's not, these aren't to be against any in particular person. It's just we're standing for truth. We're standing for transparency. We're standing for our Constitution and for our freedom to be able to speak out and not be censored, because that is happening all around us. And, it's very crazy to me that we see this happening on so many platforms, on so many levels, and yet that's not concerning to some people. I mean, that's hugely concerning to me. What future am I leaving my children if they can't even speak out, or that they're being censored on what information they're allowed to read and knowledge they're able to glean, so that they can make their own decision based on their intelligence, right? So we are just trying to, be an example to our children, to our family, that we will speak out for truth, and that we will always be on the side of truth, transparency, the Constitution, and our freedom, our liberties.
Yeah, it's more powerful to be for something than against something. And I will say this: we have friends that are Democrats, and I respect their position. I don't agree with their position, but I respect it. That's what America is about: is our own ability to be able to come to conclusions that are right, based on what our belief system is. And so I have friends that are Democrats, and you'll never see us go onto their page and attack them, belittle them. That's not what this is about. But we are going to speak our truth. We are going to speak our truth. I forgot to mention just one thing. Biggest winners from the election so far, I think Parler had to be one of the biggest winners. Newsmax had to be one of the biggest winners.
Yes.
Parler wasn't ready for the big influx. I think Charlie Kirk was a big winner. Huge Charlie Kirk fan. He's been putting out great information. A lot of my preparation for today came from watching Charlie Kirk's show. We are big fans. And the biggest loser, Fox News. Fox News betrayed their base, and I love to see the Fox it, Fex it, Fox exit.
Oh, Fox it! I like
Hashtag
that.
Fox it or Fex it. What do you guys think?
I don't know. I've been kind of wondering about them for a while now.
No, they've been tilting. So anyhow, thanks so much for tuning in, you guys. Appreciate it. We'll be back here as soon as we have some more updates for you. And looking forward to connecting with you guys. I'm on Parler. I haven't figured out how to use it yet, but it's at Travis Flaherty. I'm going to keep it real simple. I'm going to use my name.
I don't know what I put at summer. I think it was summertime.
You know what? I actually joined PARLOR for a day, and I spent all day. And I finally said, Summer, I can't figure this thing out. I don't know where everyone's. I can't friend anybody. And then I realized I'd spelled it wrong. So
it's okay. It happens. There is that too.
Heather Davis, hashtag Fox it. You guys take care. Thanks so much for tuning in to our very first Patriot update.
Follow Fox. Go and follow Fox.
Unfollow Fox.
Unfollow Fox on all of your platforms. That's what I did. It's just a little thing. One person might not matter that big of a deal, but if we all do it, maybe they'll get the message. All
right, and then follow us here so that you guys are notified next time that we go live. Follow us on our pages. We'll probably start a group so that we can consolidate this information, communicate with each other, and who knows? We'll see where it goes. Thanks for tuning in, you guys. Have a great evening. We'll see you soon. Bye-bye.